Our story, remember last time he about drowned, and but it was a miracle. He survived, and his family, or he realized that God must have a special plan for his life. When Donnie was only 5 or 6, he joined his family working in the fields. He was the youngest, but everyone in his family had to work, sometimes in the cotton fields and sometimes in the pea patches. Done working for the day, Donnie sat on the porch, exhausted. He remembered his family going to church in the nearby town of Wilder with a neighbor lady. How he loved the church services. He had knelt at the altar. Then he had told Jesus that he was sorry for all his sins, everything that he had done wrong. Donnie remembered the moment when he was forgiven. Jesus had saved him and come into his heart. He was so happy. He had told everyone, now I'm one of Jesus' disciples. I'm one of Jesus' disciples. Even after Donnie had come home, he kept being one of Jesus' disciples. But it was not easy to be good. No one else in his house was saved. Everyone worked hard in the fields all week. No one wanted to go to church on Sunday. On Saturday, Donnie's dad spent his time drinking beer and gambling. Donnie remembered the times that he would sit in the car in the cold, waiting for his dad while he drank at the bar. He would get so tired and beg to go home, but he had to wait half the night. Then when they got home and his dad threw up, Donnie would have to clean up after him. Donnie sighed. He was doing things that he knew God was not pleased with. He guessed he had just given up being a disciple. Years went by and Donnie became a teenager. Although he was not serving Jesus, he never got away from some of the things he had learned in church. He never drank, smoked, or swore. The memories of his drunken father stumbling and vomiting left such an impression on his young mind that he vowed to himself that he would never touch alcohol. No one knew, but inside his heart he thought, someday I'm going to get back to God. In May of 1951, Donnie graduated from high school. A week later, he joined the U.S. Navy with 2 of his friends. He thought, this is my chance to see some of the world. He found that the world brought dissatisfaction and did not fill the emptiness in his heart. Only God could do that. One day, Donnie got a call from his brother Wes. Donnie, I've gotten saved, and God has called me to preach. Donnie didn't know what to say. Wes went on, Donnie, I'm praying that God will save you from going to hell. Donnie felt miserable. He remembered what had happened at the little church in Wilder when he was young, but he didn't feel ready to come back to God. God had other people talk to Donnie as well. Donnie's friends, the Wilsons, wrote him a letter telling him that they were praying for him. That made him so mad. The Wilsons asked him, Donnie, are you ready for heaven? He retorted, well, maybe not heaven, but I'm sure too good to go to hell. He thought that he would just turn over a new leaf or try to stop sinning and try to be a better person. He was looking for a bargain. God, he prayed, if you'll let me keep my movies, I'll give up dancing. Then the next week, he turned it around and tried to give up his movies if God would let him keep the dances. But nothing changed in his heart. The emptiness was still there. In June, when Donnie was 19, he had 2 weeks off from the Navy. He was thrilled to be back home with his family in Idaho. By now, his brother Wes was going to Bible school. Come on, Donnie, Wes said, I'd like you to come hear me preach in Wilder this Sunday. Donnie agreed to go. As he walked into the little church, a flood of memories came over him. This was the place where he had been forgiven and saved as a little boy. Lately, he had been so miserable, trying to hide the emptiness inside. While he had been in California, he had told stories to his sister Veda's boys, Dwayne, Daryl, and Gary. He had bragged to them, trying to impress them with how tough he was. He told them, I haven't shed a tear for years. After all, he was in the Navy. But later that same evening in church, he bawled like a baby. His nephews accused, we thought you said you never cried. This was different, his sister defended. When Wes was done preaching, Donnie went to the altar. The Christians gathered around him as he prayed his way back to God. God spoke peace to his troubled heart one more time. Donnie knew that he did not deserve forgiveness, but God forgave him anyway. His heart was filled with peace, joy, and satisfaction. When he got back to San Francisco, where he was stationed, he began seeking to be sanctified. He didn't understand all about it, but he was hungry to have everything that God had for him. After about 3 months, he felt God speak to his heart when he was in church. Donnie, I'm going to sanctify you tonight. Excitement rushed through him. Yes, this is what he wanted. He couldn't even concentrate on the service. He kept staring at the altar. Finally, the preacher was finished and asked for people with a need to come pray. Donnie jumped out of his seat and rushed to the altar. Tears coursed down his cheeks as he gave God everything he had. In a moment, Donnie felt victory. It seemed to him like God scrubbed his heart down with a scrub brush and then hosed it out until it was clean. Praise God, he said.
Amen.
Praise God. A few months after being sanctified, he was transferred on USS Kenneth Whiting, a seaplane tender, a ship that supports the operation of seaplanes, for Iwakuna, Japan. The swaying movement on this ship made Donnie sick. It had been days. He lay on his cot moaning. Another wave hit the seaplane. Donnie ran for the tiny bathroom. Many times he couldn't make it in time and ended up feeding the fish over the side of the ship. He thought to himself, I'm so sick. I think I'm going to die. And we'll continue next.